WWE are absolutely getting rid of a lot of staff. They're cutting staff all over, from wrestlers, performers, to coaches, to creative staff. They're either releasing people, firing people, or putting them on furlough. And I want to go through the list. I'll read it from my laptop. So far, there's a tremendous list, and I'll give a few of my thoughts on these as well, on a few of the names, not every name, because if I could sit here and speak for an hour odd. The wrestlers, this is the updated list from wrestlers from Raw and NXT. There is the belief, and I think I have to say the same, that there may be SmackDown cuts coming within the next few days as well. So I think there are more names to be added to the list, basically, is what I'm saying. So the wrestlers released so far, I'll say the wrestlers first. Rocky, Mohamed Fahim, Marco Gomez, Faisal Kurdi, Edgar Lopez, Hussein Al-Degal, Cassius Ono, who's been working in NXT UK as well, Tino Sabatelli, Cesar Bononi, Mars Wang, Tainara Conte, Nick Ogarelli, Alyssa Amarino, Dorian Mack, MJ Jenkins, Diano Perazzo, Alexander Jaksic, Rusev, No Way Jose, Maria Kanellis, Mike Kanellis, Primo, Epico, Rowan, Sarah Logan, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, EC3, Drake Maverick. Heartbreaking if you go see his Twitter video, I'm sure everybody has by now. Kurt Hawkins, Zack Ryder, Heath Slater, Eric Young, and Leo Rush. So those are the names of the wrestlers so far as of the 18th of April, and I think that's pretty much everybody that's been released so far. I'm on a website that's got a full list. I took a list even for a full from a website. So that's the full names of the wrestlers that have been released very quickly. Looking through these, a lot of these are NXT people who've not really made an impact in there, especially ones like Rocky, not Stallone obviously. Cassius Ono is a sad one to see. I hope he really goes back to the independent scene. Maybe even come back to the UK. I saw him against a friend of mine, Ian Ambrose, his real name. Almost actually coming up to 4 years ago, I believe. I just watched the video, so I should remember the date, but it was May 2016, so almost 4 years ago, and it was a really good match. It's on YouTube. Just search Chris Hero versus Ian Ambrose. I would love to see a rematch of that match, or rematch even, whatever. I'd like to see them two wrestle each other again. Some of the names are not really surprising either. Rusev's a little bit of a surprise, to be honest. With the Bobby Lashley and Lana storyline that they're doing, they seem to be, because I've not got the BT Sports that we have here in the UK that's now showing the WWE programming. I'm not right up to date because it's just too expensive for me. But Lana and Bobby Lashley seem to be having problems slightly, and I thought even Lana could recruit Rusev to help Lashley, and maybe even make him a tag team, thing, and then eventually, obviously, Rusev maybe turn on Lashley, or Lashley turn on Rusev, and say, fine, you want Lana to yourself, have her back, or something. That degree, I thought they would keep it going that way. I know many people are not a fan of that particular storyline. I thought that could be the way they do it. Primo and Epico, I really do not know why, apart from their family connections, why they would be still under contract when they haven't wrestled for WWE in months. I know one of them supposedly failed a wellness policy test. I think it was more of the fact, if I remember the story correctly, that they weren't informed of the test until like the day of, obviously, which is, you get short notice obviously, so that you don't have time to get the stuff out of your system, or to take stuff that will cover any substances. I'm not a doctor, I don't quite understand the whole thing, but It was basically, I think it was a point of they couldn't get there in time where the test was being held, but why they were still under contract, not really sure. Rowan they've not done very much of. He'll go to AEW maybe and help Brody Lee. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, sad to see them being released. AJ Styles is obviously kind of, as we've seen in the press last day or so, felt quite guilty about them losing their jobs, when Jim Cornette actually made a good point that they actually just signed new contracts. They just signed really good, decent contracts with WWE. And it is, like Jim Cornette says, I think it's on this week's Experience. So I watched the clip on YouTube, so I'm just like started this week's Jim Cornette Experience podcast. But, you know, WWE are obviously very, very one-sided on these contracts. If you want out, they can keep you, but if they want to get rid of you, just a quick, right, you're fired, and that'll do. Drake Maverick, like I said, it was sad to see EC3 go as well. He didn't really get his proper opportunity. Drake Maverick, what a heartbreaking video on Twitter. I think the Cruiserweight tournament thing was already pre-taped, which is a sad thing, because it would have allowed him, if it hadn't been, to go in, shake hands, thank everybody, and even try and put in a really good performance, so once this is all over, or some point in the future, they may have considered rehiring him, which may happen or may not, but sadly some of these people like Zack Ryder, Heath Slater, sad to see Eric Young go as well. I think that those, you know, it tends to be sometimes in WWE when you've had a decently long run like Heath Slater and Zack Ryder have had, that's your time done in WWE, and, you know, even though you're forever known as a WWE superstar, and I'm glad that Zack Ryder has his WrestleMania moment to savour and to reflect upon and to watch over and over again for the rest of his life. It's a unique thing that not many people get, but sometimes you get people who have a long run in WWE, and once you're done, you're done. So that's the wrestlers. Leo Rush, not caring about really, because he seemed to annoy a lot of people, and from what I've heard, he's not exactly the greatest person in the world. But the producers, now a lot of these producers, apart from Kurt Angle, who has been released from his contract, I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe a lot of suggestions, obviously, going to AEW as well, which is what you're going to get with pretty much every single person released on the performance, or was a performer, you know, ex-wrestler, producer type. A lot of people will suggest places like Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, AEW, obviously, many other companies. I believe Carl Anderson's already set up a return to New Japan Pro Wrestling, from what I saw on Twitter. The producers, though, have been supposedly put on furlough, which basically means WWE have laid them off and will rehire them possibly once this is over. Again, once this situation is over. That includes Billy Kidman, Mike Rotunda, Pat Buck, Fit Finlay, Sean Devary, Scott Armstrong, Sarah Stock, Shane Helms, and Lance Storm. A couple of these I will say though about, first of all, Lance Storm, I certainly hope so, in terms of him being picked up again by WWE once this is all over, because he just shut his school down about 5 months ago. Whatever his reasons for doing it, he decided, you know, to close. Well, for whatever reason, he shut down his training school, his Storm Wrestling Academy, which was producing many great wrestlers, and has gone back on the road with WWE, now only to be furloughed, which I really hope this is a situation where they've talked to these people and they've genuinely said to them, we will be picking you up. After all this is over, you'll be back on your job, back being paid, soon as we can. But certainly a lot of these people, I really hope so. Although I know Shane Helms has obviously put a Pro Wrestling Tees shop on, and I know a few of them have, so check out Pro Wrestling Tees. Check out their shops and etc. there, and check their Twitters and social media outlets. Certainly when it comes to Fit Finlay though, he has been furloughed apparently, but he is tweeting and talking like he is done with WWE, unfortunately. It looks like he may very well be done with WWE completely. He's been there for nearly 20 years. He's been wrestling. I think he says on his Twitter bio, and it sounds about right, he's been wrestling since 1974, and certainly involved in the wrestling industry before that, with his father, his father and his grandfather were wrestlers, so he is third generation himself. He's very well respected, has over 40 years of knowledge of professional wrestling, himself, not to mention any knowledge and experience his father may have taught him over the years. I know his father only passed away a couple of years ago, not very, fairly recently, certainly, I believe. I would love to see Finlay travel the UK, travel the world, if he is done with WWE, passing on his knowledge and experience to all independent wrestlers. He's very well known for bringing along a lot of female superstars and female wrestlers. In particular, he has been a major part in WWE's push towards female stars, whether it be the divas or the women's champions or whatever. He is so respected. I know that many wrestling training schools, academies, whatever they want to call themselves, would bite your hand off. Literally bite your hand off if you offered Finlay to come down and teach some of this, even cover some of the basics with your local wrestlers. Companies would really go for that. Finlay would be so welcomed with open arms here in the UK if he wants to do that, even just for a visit or whatever he decides to do in the future. Absolutely, I would really love to see that. And I'm sure, of course, many fans would love to have the opportunity, certainly in the UK. I don't know how well he's thought of in the US, not as much as in the UK. We'd love to see him appear in a couple of independent shows. Maybe that could be a bit of a package deal. He'll come in, do a seminar, plus an appearance at the show, maybe the next day or that night. I know many fans, including myself, would love to have the opportunity to shake his hand. Also when shaking hands is allowed. So I would hope most of these people, although Mike Rotunda is another one, I do not know whether he will be returned to WWE. And to be honest, in a personal kind of selfish bit, and I don't care about it, but selfish level, I would love to see Mike Rotunda visit here in Dundee with the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, who the local promotion SWE have a great relationship with. Ted owns, well, the $1 Million Man owns the company again right now, so I would love to see Money Inc. appear. That would be great. We've seen Ted and Virgil. I would love to see Ted and IRS here in Dundee, or certainly whether if the show happens in, say, I don't know, Blair Gowrie or Forfar or somewhere like that, wherever the SWE show is, we'd love to see Ted and IRS. I don't think it'll happen, but it would be great to see. The coaches, Serena Deeb, Kendall Christian and Chris Guy, aka Ace Steel, they've also apparently been furloughed. Again, hopefully they'll be picked up again. Announcers, Aiden English seems to be released. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he was just simply released. His in-ring career is over, apparently, according to various sources. He hasn't wrestled for a long time. We've never really, I don't think we've ever heard really the full whack on that. We've never really heard the full story. Jerry Soto has announced he is furloughed. Mike Chioda has been released after 31 years with WWE, and I see that as a permanent release, unfortunately. Again, with all of these names, we'll hear at the end, but Andrea Listenberger in creative, she's been apparently released. She's gone after only about 4 months or so. Another on-air talent, Hosea Williams and John Questo, they have been either furloughed or released. In terms of these, I said, I've kind of gone through it. Most of these people, I would hope, are, let's see, certainly the most of the producers and the coaches, etc., are picked up again and re-employed by WWE. once this situation is over, once this, they're back on the road and they're needing staff, especially the producers, they'll need producers on the road with the guys at the house shows, at the television, at the pay-per-views, that they're doing that weird Money in the Bank match at in Stamford at Titan Towers. I don't know how they've got permission to do that. Especially with what's going on. But I'll certainly with the producers and a lot of those other talents that I was talking about after the wrestlers, the producers, the coaches, the announcers, etc. I would hope that they would be re-picked up. Apart from Mike Chioda, who I think has been released, unfortunately, I think that's him done. Sadly, after 31 years, there's a bit of a boot in the behind, out the door you go kind of thing, which is a real shame. In terms of what WWE have done, I really do not like it. I know this is challenging times, but they also were saying in some financial meeting when they were talking about, yes, there'll be staff cuts. They've got access to like something like 500 million or something along those lines, $500 million, something along those lines anyway, in terms of cash and backup support. I think they termed it, I can't remember the exact phrase that was used at one point that I've seen reported, but they've got all that money, but yet they can't just pay these people. I understand if they want to get rid of Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, Drake Maverick, Rusev, Edgar Lopez, make the cuts. As we always see post WrestleMania season, we always see cuts about twice a year. It's just like the UK tours, they normally happen about twice a year. I understand that, make the cuts if you want, but they've got the cash, they've got the ability to pay all these people. It's not like WWE are really struggling for money. Like I said, you've got all those reserves. WWE is the biggest professional wrestling company in the world, biggest sports entertainment company in the world. If you want to, some people insist on calling it sports entertainment. I tend to call it professional wrestling rather than sports entertainment. But they've got the cash to keep these people and pay these people. I don't understand why they've done it. If you want to release them, if you want to fire them, you want to say you're done, you no longer have a job here, then fine, go ahead and say that. I mean, that comes from me, my own bitter experience. They couldn't just say that to me. Not WWE, but the company that I work for, they couldn't just say that to me. They didn't have the guts to say that. So I don't like that. I don't like that kind of attitude. Again, we do not know personally private conversations between Billy Kidman and Triple H, or Scott Armstrong and Brian Armstrong, or Lance Storm, and who was it? Mark Carrano, I believe it was, that called Drake Maverick, aka Spud. We don't know what these private conversations were. So maybe, I kind of doubt that these people are kind of falling on their sword to protect other jobs. I would like to think that, but knowing WWE, that's not the way they would do things. I mean, some of those guys, Billy Kidman, etc., obviously have been working for years. You'd hope they've saved up a little more money so they can go a few months without being paid and without doing their job, to rest, relax, and then come back fresh and with new ideas and different approaches. That would be great. Especially when it comes to producers, that's what they do. They help guys put the matches together. Lance Storm's these guys have got years of experience, obviously. But I don't like the way that WWE done it. But I'm going to wrap this up now. But whether we will know the full story of exactly what is going on, what the conversations are, hopefully in the future, hopefully some point down the line, if some of these people do not rejoin WWE, do not get picked up again, hopefully we do hear, because there's always going to be rumours and speculation, just like the false names were reported about the Iconics and Ruby Riott and other stars being potentially axed that so far at least haven't been officially, not that we've heard. I would like to hear the full story of exactly what goes down, and whether any stockholder could really push WWE and Vince McMahon in one of these kind of press conferences to state exactly what they are done and why they've done it. I don't know. I don't think that information will become as public as we would like to. But certainly WWE getting rid of a lot of staff, and as I said at the start, earlier, certainly I can see more names being added to the list of releases very shortly.